Well, it's time to spot the ball as week one is finally here, and I'm not going to pass up an opportunity to say that again. Welcome into episode 41 of the Gold and Blue Breakdown Show as Jonathan and I are back, and we are finally in game mode. We are in game preview mode, and it's kind of refreshing, Jonathan. What do you think?
Yeah, I tell you, our second season doing this, Couz, man, I've enjoyed it. I feel like last year we had some high expectations. It didn't quite; those weren't met, obviously, and that transition to spot the ball. And I feel like it's been a long time coming. And in some ways, it's funny. I feel like it's been forever since Rich Rod returned to West Virginia. And then other ways, I feel like it was just yesterday. And man, I don't know. Is this maybe the most anticipated opening game in I don't know how long? Just the stream of emotions.
Yeah.
You and I have talked off air before. Like, what's that going to be like for so many people and for Rich Rodriguez to see him run out and to see Noel Devine and Pat White and some of these other guys. And so, man, I'm just really excited, and it's hard to believe it is game week.
Yeah, I know for me. I mean, I was excited last year because of the Penn State, but the anticipation didn't really start until we got close to kickoff, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But this summer, it's almost like there's been a slow build, like from the time Rich Rod got hired, to spring ball. It's like you could feel it, feel it building, and the fact that we're playing I will say this: I think it's the most excited I've ever been to play an FCS team.
Yeah. I mean,
no disrespect to FCS teams, but
and you're right. You're not opening with the backyard brawl. You're not opening with Penn State. You're not opening with who insert whoever. But just in terms of general excitement, I mean, it's like he was hired and then it started back and then it was like camp and then here we are a couple of weeks before a game and now all of a sudden Rich is sitting in Kegler's doing the coaches show.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have a press conference for game week, and then it just all the emotions that come with that. Some good, obviously most good, and there are some mixed feelings. We're still aware of that, and then I would just say, Couz, before we start getting into the show, Rich Rod's return aside, and that's a huge chunk of this. West Virginia's turning the corner and turning the page from the Neil Brown era, regardless who the next coach would be.
Right.
And there has been some disappointment in Mountaineer football, and I would say there's been some just a deep lack of interest in West Virginia football, and it seems like that excitement level has just dipped more and more and more and more, and it just there's a rejuvenation that was bound to happen this year just because you turn the page. And so, for a variety of reasons, we find ourselves pretty darn excited, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I'm just excited to see Coach Rod run out of the tunnel.
Yeah,
again. It's going to be a really
this isn't part of it.
Surreal moment,
and this isn't part of it, Couz, the show. But yes or no, will there be a helmet?
Inflatable helmet?
An inflatable helmet. Yes or no?
Well, they did bring the train back.
Yep. So we've got no inside knowledge, and it wasn't part of the show, and I'm putting you on the spot. But will there be a helmet?
I actually hope so. I loved the helmet. I know a lot of people didn't, but I liked it.
Glossy helmets are back.
Yeah.
Rich Rod's back. Yep. So is the inflatable back? That will be the question.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It would be so cool. Yeah, that would be pretty neat.
I know a lot of people don't like the inflatable helmet. They think it's cheesy, but I actually kind of dig it, to be honest.
It just fits, right? I mean, it fits the whole we're back, right? And I'm almost disappointed if we don't see it. So next week, we'll have to lead the show off with not did they win or lose or who stood out, but was there a helmet?
Yeah, there you go.
We'll see.
All right. Let's go ahead and dive into the show. For those of you who haven't watched before, what we like to do is we call it 3, 2, 1. We do 3 keys of the game. We each give a key until we hit 3 each. Then we do 2 position battles to watch, and then we do 1 key player to watch for the Mountaineers. And then at the end, we'll give our score prediction. So go ahead, Jonathan. And who is your first key? Your first key to the game for the Mountaineers for this one?
Yeah. So Couz, we just talked about it, right? Your emotion, my emotion, everybody's emotion with the return of Rich Rodriguez, and so I'm going to switch some of mine up tonight and go something that maybe is a little bit different, really all across the board. But I think the first key to the game is just to handle that emotion. And I would say the same thing for the players and for the staff, right? Listen, let's be completely honest with each other here. I don't think we're breaking any news when we say this. West Virginia should win the football game, and they should win it handedly. But our first bud of the season, there's a ton of emotion. There's a ton of nostalgia. It's the first game, Rich's return. There's a lot going on. This game, Couz, isn't expected to be close by any means. But there's just some things that happened in the first game, right? And you're a nervousness away from muffing a punt and giving Robert Morris the ball inside the 20. You're a misread away on all these new players from throwing a pick six. There's so many moving parts that, I'd even go back to last year. And we've talked about this. I thought part of the thing that really hurt West Virginia the most in that first game versus Penn State was just the emotion and the anticipation of that game. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to compare Robert Morris to Penn State. That's not my point. My point is that you have to handle that, right? Yeah. And you have to handle it correctly, and that's across the board. So handle the emotion with the asterisk of just don't do anything stupid, right?
Yeah.
Channel that the correct way. No stupid penalties. No silly turnovers. Just handle it. Do your business, and let's go.
Yeah, that's a good one. My first key is actually similar to yours, I guess, but a little bit different direction. It does have to do with mindset, but it's more so built around not overlooking Robert Morris University, because we do see FCS upsets of Power 4 teams every single year, or most years anyway, right? It happens.
Yep.
You don't want to be that team. This is the first time they've ever played each other. You don't want them beating you in your own house. What a way to ruin the Rich Rod return, right? Would be to lose this game. It can happen. You don't want West Virginia to come in and overlook Robert Morris. You want them to treat it like a business trip, bring their A game, have the right mindset that they're going to come in here. I think they'll be ready to come in. I'm sure they're tired of practicing against each other. They're going to be ready to come in and play against somebody in a different uniform for once. So they're likely going to be ready to go, which kind of feeds into what you said. Can they channel that emotion the right way? But just don't overlook them. I don't think they will. And if they do early, I think, we've seen teams in the past come out sluggish against these FCS opponents before they finally catch their stride and end up, blowing them out in the second half.
Yeah.
I would like to see West Virginia come out and start strong and just pound them to dust and move on and get a lot of guys in the game. Might get to see 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks in the game.
Yeah.
That's what I like to see. But but I don't want them to overlook Robert Morris in this game, because they are very capable of winning if you don't come in with the mindset that this is going to be easy. We don't have to play hard, which I don't think Rich Rod would ever allow that to happen.
Right. Yeah. No.
But at least if he did, it wouldn't happen but once. But hey, look, they're all human and they can, get their mind in the wrong place, and we just got to hope it won't happen this week.
Yeah, I agree. And again, speaking of right, you said it best. I don't think Rich allows that, but you're right. The truth is, you just don't know. You think you've got an idea, but you just don't know. And so if I can, I'll just kind of cruise to my second point, because you kind of made some of my points for me, and that's to get up early. I think that's an important key because it piggybacks off the first part. But the reason I say it's important to get up early is because I think West Virginia plans to play a lot of guys. and West Virginia they're still learning this personnel. I mean, we've heard Rich Rodriguez talk several times about, these position battles are 2, 3, 4 deep, whether it be quarterback, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, whatever it would be. And so they're going to have to run starters out there, but that doesn't mean that they're done searching for players.
Right.
And I think it's important for West Virginia to establish that dominance and that hard edge early, so that you can kind of see, okay, this is how my starters reacted. Now I need to get this player. I need to get that player. And maybe you want to look at 4 to 5 different offensive linemen, or you want to slide that third string receiver in, or how's my running back situation now? Can I get Ty Edwards carries? Can I loosen Jamori Robinson up just a little bit, or now Jeff Weimer? So I think it's important to get up early, because the last thing you want to do is to find yourself in a 14-14 ball game halfway through the second quarter.
Yeah.
Against Robert Morris. That's good for nobody except Robert Morris.
Correct.
So, I just think it's important for them to get up early and to begin to establish themselves so they can kind of get a better read on their personnel.
Yep, agreed. My second key is, I guess it's a little bit more nuts and bolts, but it's establish the run. But it goes back to what we've talked about, kind of, is if you can dominate the line of scrimmage, run the ball down their throat, dominate them on the ground, then a couple things. One, it shows that they come out with the right mindset. Mm-hmm. If you do it early, and two, I think it shows that this team, even though it's against a FCS opponent, it's going to show that this team has that hard edge, right? It's going to show that the offensive line is coming out with the right mindset. It's going to show that they're pushing guys backwards. It's going to show that Jaheim White is Jaheim White still. All of that stuff may not, it may not be 100% proof, because again, you got to consider the opponent. But I think it shows that they're where they need to be, at least at this point in the season. If they can come out and establish the ground game early and kind of dominate on the ground against an opponent where they should be able to do that.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think at the same time, you're going to start to see, look, I think we understand and we know what West Virginia has in Jaheim. But it is important to play off of that. Can you get, of course, we thought we knew the NCAA decision, the judge's decision. Now maybe we don't, but can you get Ty Edwards, or what's Sincere Bowers look like? Is Dior Hubbard going to get some carries? So, yeah, I think it's important to establish that run game, because outside of Jaheim, you want to get an idea about what you have. Mm-hmm. And so, and we do know Rich is going to run the football. So, yeah, very important to establish that.
Yep. All right, what's your third key?
Yeah, so it kind of similar is mine is offensive execution. I like it. There's a lot of unknowns all across the board. Let's be clear about that. But offense is one area. Maybe the offensive line is a little curious right now. But outside of that, I think West Virginia, while they may not have all their starters etched in stone, I think they feel pretty good about the offensive personnel. But then obviously with Rich Rodriguez, high octane offense. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's a game where you can't have a little bit of a breakdown to where you're scoring, 17, 21 points in this game. I think in terms of anticipation, seeing 40-plus points is important. Plus, it gives you a little bit more idea. Is Nico ready? Is Jalen ready? Who kind of is able to command this offense? How does Jaheim White look behind this offensive line? How does that line look? Are they able to run block against a weaker opponent? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things you would like to see go well, but I think offensive execution would be at the top of that list.
I like it. My third one is not necessarily a key to this game, but it's a key to the rest of the games, and that's they need to come out of this game healthy. You don't want to see anybody like Jaheim or any of your core, especially you don't want to see anybody hurt, but right. You definitely don't want to see any of your key guys going down. Like last year, we saw Eddie V go down against Albany. Don't want to see that. Hopefully, the starters, or whoever they run out there to be the starters, and your key guys come out of this. Maybe they only have to play a quarter or a few series. They can come out. You can get all your guys some reps, some snaps, and you can save your top guys for that next game against Ohio, and then later on, obviously down the road against Pitt, Kansas, and so on and so forth. That's, to me, something that sticks out to me. I mean, there's always a risk of injury in football, but you don't want to get any of your key guys hurt in this game. So if they can come out of this game unscathed or fairly unscathed, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I almost actually put that down because it is that important, right? I mean, Rich Rodriguez and his staff may not necessarily come out and say, "Hey, this is my established group, this is my established starters." But I do think in a lot of areas they have their ideas, and there just obviously are some that you just cannot afford to lose, right?
Yep.
And so, you don't ever want it to happen, but you specifically don't want it to happen in the first game of the year, in a game that should be a blowout and that you should win. So, I think we just gave a lot of answers to say probably the two biggest is to win and stay healthy, and so completely agree with you.
Yep. All right, the next segment is the two position battles to watch. Are there two position battles in this one, Jonathan? I mean, West Virginia theoretically should be the better team at every position battle here.
Yeah.
But are there any that stick out to you that you think are noteworthy?
Yeah, and I told you, Couz, I was going to go a little different in some of mine specifically for this game, because the truth is it should be a blowout, but more importantly, we just don't have a ton of information on Robert Morris. But so I'm going to tailor my answers a little bit to Robert Morris, but maybe more specifically to West Virginia. And so actually on both of mine, I'm going to go kind of just old school. And the first one would be West Virginia offensive line, Robert Morris defensive line. There's two main reasons I did that. Number one, Robert Morris only returns one starter from last year. And surprise, it's a defensive lineman, Trey Woods. He's small, 6 foot, 250, but he did have 28 tackles, 3.5 sacks last year. But the second reason is I'm curious about this West Virginia offensive line. It's like one day you kind of get an idea, or you hear that they just don't have it figured out. They're all over the place. And the next time you hear, I really like what I have. And then another minute they're bringing in another body 2 weeks before the season. And then it's like, so it's kind of hard to get a gauge of what this is. And so when it comes to this offense, I think even though maybe you don't have a starter at quarterback, you feel pretty good about what you have. You feel pretty good about Jaheim and what you have around him. And I'd even say the same thing for the receiving core. But I think the offensive line is the one area where you are just kind of you're just a little bit more curious about what you have here. And then I think there are some internal battles inside that offensive line, maybe a tackle position that you're still kind of having a little competition. So because I think there's some curiosity surrounding the West Virginia offensive line, and Robert Morris does have one defensive lineman that can make plays. That's one that I'm going to be watching, and admittedly a little bit more because of West Virginia's question marks there.
And that, by the way, Trey Woods, I'm glad you brought him up because Phil Steele named him a preseason second-team All-Northeast Conference performer. He's the only player on that side of the ball that Phil Steele even mentioned. So he definitely is a key to that defense. He's kind of based on the interview I did earlier with the writer over at RMU Sports Now, he's kind of a hybrid edge rusher / defensive end type. Some list him, Phil still lists him as a linebacker, but he's a defensive lineman on the depth chart. So he's kind of a hybrid guy, but he can get after you. But that segues into exactly, this is the first time on the show you and I are going to agree, because that's the first one I wrote down too. And the reason I wrote it down, West Virginia offensive line versus Robert Morris defensive line, is we've heard question marks around whether they can get push or not. Well, if they can't get push against an FCS school up front, who they should be much larger than, we're going to have problems.
Yep.
And I think, but if they go out there and, like I kind of mentioned with my establishing the run comment, if they can go out there and dominate and just push them off the ball at will, like they want to do, and we see that it's just dominance,
then
I'm going to feel a lot better about the team going forward, because they should dominate. I mean, West Virginia's O-line is going to be much bigger than Robert Morris's D-line, at least it should be, and they should be able to move them off the ball. And it maybe not 100% of the time, but about 99% of the time. And if they can't do that, then we got problems. At least early in the season, we got problems. Now, obviously, they can get fixed, but I'm going to be a little bit more nervous about the rest of the season. So that's exactly the reason. So I had the same thing you had, the O-line versus the RMU D-line. So
yeah, and because there is a lot of questions, and here's the thing: I don't know that this game is going to answer a lot of questions about this offensive line, but it's
true.
But it's either going to make us feel a little bit better or a little bit worse.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's one that I'm really keeping a close eye on.
You know, these FCS games are tough, Jonathan, because I harken back to 2022, I believe it was. It was the year West Virginia played Long Island in their FCS opponent, and they beat them like 60-something to nothing or whatever it was. I mean, they blew them out of the water.
Yeah.
And West Virginia ended up being a 5-7 football team. So now Long Island was a bottom tier FCS team. I get that. Robert Morris is not typically. They finished third in their conference a year ago. But my point being, it's just hard, man. It's hard to gauge based on this game. But like you said, you may feel better, you may feel worse about it. You know, West Virginia struggled with Duquesne for the first half 2 years ago, or then they end up going on a going to a 9-win season, the best season in the. So you just can't. These are 18 to now, and nowadays 24-year-olds. So you never know what. I mean, seriously. So you never. Maybe 25 in some cases. This is totally off topic, but you know who probably is going to be the starting running back for Marshall this year?
Who?
Tony Mathis.
That seems 10 years ago.
2018 is, I believe, when he's recruited to West Virginia. But West Virginia has a couple of guys on the team who has been playing since 2018. That's the reason I made that comment. But I said it to be funny, but it's the truth.
You're right, and so we completely agree that it's just you can't overlook people. But I think this is a prime. It's a great opportunity to see on that, especially that offensive line, what you have, and establish some dominance. And you know what, internally for West Virginia, maybe it starts to separate some of these position battles that even Rich himself has said could go a couple weeks into the year.
Yep. All right. What is your second position battle?
So, keeping, again, I alluded to it earlier, I'm keeping it old school. Just a West Virginia defense, Robert Morris offense. And again, I have some things inside of those things that made me want to go this route. Because Robert Morris's projected starting quarterback, Zach Turner, you probably know this, and I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. It's okay if you don't. Do you know how many passing attempts he has in his career?
161, maybe?
50.
Oh, really? I thought
passing
it was more than that.
I think he has thrown 50 passing attempts for 453 yards. Again, information on Robert Morris.
I do have it wrote down. I don't know where I got it. You're right. 31 for 50.
50 passing attempts for 453 yards.
I should have just cheated and looked at my notes.
Well, this is not a live episode, but we treat it as such.
Yes.
Here's my point. Couz, there's a lot of question marks about this entire West Virginia program, roster, whatever you want to call it. But they're going up against Robert Morris with the starting quarterback who has 50 career passing attempts and 453 yards. So help me, if Robert Morris scores 28 points on Saturday, I don't even know what I want to think. Okay? They're replacing quarterbacks, running back. I mean, they've lost their entire team. I think you said it best, and I don't want to give too much away because you are writing an article for the site. They're the West Virginia of their league. Like they're redoing everything. And I've talked about this several times during the offseason. Look, I get it's a new overhaul, and I get there's a new coaching staff, and everybody's thrilled to death about Zach Alley, and they're thrilled to death about who they've brought in. But so help me goodness, if Robert Morris rolls into Mountaineer Field on Rich Rodriguez's return and scores 28, tune in next week. I'm going to have some things to say about it. And so this is a prime opportunity for West Virginia, this defense, to get established, to be aggressive. And I know it's Robert Morris, but to say, hey, this isn't your same West Virginia defense that you've been accustomed to the last couple of years. Buckle up. So I'm going to be watching that closely.
Well said. And I'm glad you talked about the quarterback, because you know who he's batting it out for the starting spot, more than likely. Just like West Virginia, they haven't announced a starter yet. But based on what I've talking to the Robert Morris writer that I talked to earlier, a player by the name of Amir Dudley. I had to look at my notes again. Amir Dudley, he's a Harvard transfer. He's been playing defensive back at Harvard. They recruited him as a quarterback, moved him to defensive back, and now he's back at quarterback again at RMU and has yet to throw a pass in college. And when you talked about Turner, I heard those stats. I saw those stats on Turner, and I thought, man, last year had to be his only year. Not. This is his fourth year at Robert Morris. So he's basically been a career backup, is what that tells me. So.
Yeah. It's just, and I'm going to let you get to yours. It just, you cannot have, Couz. You cannot have Robert Morris, with all due respect to Zach Turner. Yeah, with everything surrounding this game and the numbers that we have in front of us, you cannot have them come in and him throw for 2 or 3 touchdowns. You just can't do it. You just can't do it.
Well, and actually, it's a perfect I just spit everywhere. It's a perfect segue to what I was going to say anyway, because my second battle is West Virginia's secondary against the Robert Morris receivers and just the passing game in general, because we watched West Virginia make Albany's quarterback last year look like Peyton Manning. Okay? Over 300 yards passing, could not cover a cold. Or a cover, whatever you want to, whatever the metaphor you want to use. Couldn't cover anything.
Yeah.
They can't do that, to your point. So I'm watching closely. What does can this secondary cover people?
Yeah.
Because if they can't, and they can't cover an FCS team who, by the way, is also replacing their top 5 wide receivers from last year, who are they going to be able to cover in Big 12 play?
It's not good if they don't.
So I'm watching real closely that. Again, back to our previous statement. Hard to judge based on these opponents because you don't know how good they're going to be. They should, they are. Most of these players are FCS players for a reason. Now, some of them are probably good enough to play at the P4 level, but most of them are not. That's the reason they're at Robert Morris, right?
Yep.
You've got to be able to dominate them, and you cannot let them throw for 300-plus yards on you like they did last year against Albany. Can't do it. So I'm watching the secondary. I almost wrote down the whole defense, too, because I'm really interested to see how Zach Alley calls a game. But then I thought, you know what? They're not going to get fancy in this game. They're probably going to keep it pretty vanilla and just stay basic. But if they can get lined up right and cover guys,
yeah,
they're already ahead of last year's defense.
The concern there is you've and I agree with you. You've got to be careful in going too basic, because you want to put your best foot forward. And I realize, look, West Virginia should be bland. They should be vanilla because you're going to win the game. You should probably increase it a little bit against Ohio, but still be relatively
right.
You're not wanting to show the whole bag of tricks. Because, Pitt's not going to have. Look, you can go back to old tape, right? When Zach Alley was at Ohio, or even when some of these coaches were with Rich Rodriguez at Jack State, and you probably can find a little bit of an idea, but you don't have the whole pieces to the puzzle.
Right.
I mean, you may have a couple, but you may be just trying to just throw them together and see if you can fit enough to make it work. So you do want to be a little, but the problem with that is, look, at the end of the day, we talked about it earlier. At the end of the day, he's going to win a football game.
Yeah.
But
and they will.
But I'm afraid that if you go too vanilla and just too bland on it, and this is not something new that I'm saying. We've talked about this. West Virginia fans do not want to hear that. They don't want the "here we go again," right? And if this quarterback comes out and throws for a couple touchdowns, 280, or they score 30, or they get out and they just march it right down the field it's not going to take long. And let's just put it like that. So you and I were along the same lines. I just went the whole defense where you kind of zoned in on one specific group, and I could have went that route. You could have went mine. The whole point, I think you and I would agree, is just aggressiveness on this defense.
Agreed.
That's where you just have to be aggressive, and you have to establish that dominance early on.
And Zach Alley is, he's a smart enough D coordinator. He's going to be able to be somewhat bland, but yet still dial up some blitzes and get aggressive. I think, in my opinion, he can dial up some basic, simple blitz. And look, if it gets to the point where they start losing the game we hope not. Then then obviously I guess he can do what he has to do. But
yeah,
I think they'll be able to win the game staying pretty bland, just because they'll be able to outman.
And I agree.
Anyway. But
I agree, but the flip side of that is if you get too bland, you can still win a football game and give up 27 points. So just think you want to be a little bit careful.
Correct. I don't disagree with you necessarily. Don't disagree with you at all. The next one we're going to talk about is the one key player to watch for West Virginia. Who's your first player to watch?
So this one was a little interesting for me because I think you could have went some obvious, right? I mean, you could have said Jaheim, and rightfully so, or you could have went Cam Vaughn in a West Virginia uniform, or there's a couple ways you could have gone. I actually went a quarterback, but I went with Jalen Henderson. And here's why. While the quarterback battle or competition seems to be still an open race, and even Rich Rod, to his credit, has said this battle's going to go into the season. I do think if you polled the majority of people, they would say that Nico's the guy, right? Mm-hmm. And so if Jalen Henderson is going to be in this mix, and if he's going to keep his name in the mix, and if he is going to continue to, or if he is going to get out of my way, this is mine, I think it kind of has to start week one. Regardless of it being Robert Morris. If he just goes out, and I'm just going to throw up some hypotheticals here, if he's 50% passing and just kind of sloppy, maybe an interception, underthrows, overthrows, I think it's going to make that decision a little bit easier for Rich Rodriguez to moving forward. So for me, I think, and this is just my opinion, I believe that Nico's probably got the edge, and I anticipate him to be the starter. There's no inside knowledge on that. It's just what I think. But I think he's going to have a little bit longer of a leash because he is going to be QB1, in my opinion. And I think if Jalen Henderson is going to stay in the conversation and eventually take it over, he needs to have a good week one because he's got to stay in the mix. And I just think if he gets behind the 8 ball, it could be too late.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't really considered that detail. I mean, I went with quarterback as well, but I'll be honest, I kind of cheated. I didn't really name a specific quarterback because same reason. I just want one. I want to see a quarterback take the reins of this football team.
Yeah,
I think it'll be Nico, there's a part of me that hopes it's Nico just because of his loyalty, and he's already been wearing that uniform for 3 years now. But at the end of the day, I want whoever's going to win football games, and whoever that is, whether it's Jalen or whether it's heck, if it's Scotty Fox, a true freshman, I don't care. Just win.
Yeah.
But I just want to see somebody go out there and make plays, look really good throwing the football, look really good in the run game, and I want to be able to look at the TV and go, you know what, that's their guy right there. That is our guy, and I want because I want to be. Maybe it's just a fan in me, but I want to have somebody to get excited about. There's something special about being able to have a QB1 and being excited about it. You know, remember when JT Daniels came over, right?
Yeah.
And everybody was so excited. We knew he was going to be our guy.
Will Greer.
We knew Garrett was going to be our guy, right? When he took it over. There's just an excitement about that as a fan because it's arguably the most important position in all sports.
Yeah.
So I would make an argument that, well, I don't want to get, that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, there's a fair argument to make that it's the most important position in all sports, team sports. So I just want to see somebody take the reins. The fan in me, the loyal Mountaineer fan in me hopes it's Nico, but if it's not, then so be it. May the best man win the job, but I just want to see somebody take it over and go out there and play and look like a star quarterback that we haven't had. Well, I really since Garrett played, I thought Garrett played like the QB1 2 years ago. I just want to see. I want to see that guy.
Do you mean NFL wide receiver Garrett Green?
I do. Yeah.
You know, and you
as
could
of
say
the recording of this, he hasn't gotten cut yet, so it's pretty cool.
There you go. And you know what? You could even say the same thing for Max Brown, Couz. I mean, it's like
I forgot about him.
You know, Rich Rodriguez said he probably the most athletic of all of them, and I would take his UNC Charlotte highlights with a little bit of grain of salt. But he was extremely productive in spurts at Florida. And so, yeah, I mean, you know, is he the magic question mark, right? So you're right. And look, this is what we do in week one, because you've got questions anyway, right? It's week one, but you've got even more so because of the complete overhaul, and just we've got no clue what we're looking at, right? And so, just through the tea leaves, I think we both agree that Nico's going to be the starter or QB1, at least temporarily. And so, I guess my argument about Henderson could also be tailored to Nico. Is if you're temporarily QB1, you can't lose it. You can't go out and look lost. You can't go out and fumble snaps. You can't go overthrowing players. You can't throw some picks. And so, you know, now that we're talking, I'm probably agreeing with you more that maybe it's not just one specific, like I mentioned, but just across the board is who's going to step up and say, this is mine. This is mine. This battle's over. And does it happen in week one? Heck, I don't know. But it sure would be nice to see Nico or even Jalen or somebody come out and be 12 or 13 for 175 and 2 scores, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, that's it. That's the guy. Yeah. So just chalk that up to one of many things we're going to be keeping a close eye on Saturday.
Yep. Agree. All right. Now, I don't have a fancy banner for this one, but the next thing we're going to do is we're going to give our score predictions for the game. What do you have on your score prediction for this one?
So I went West Virginia 42, Robert Morris 14. I don't listen. I think Rob Morris is going to score. I think too many things in the course of a game can listen. I'd hope to be proven wrong, and it's something to nothing. But I think too many things in the course of this game can work to where Robert Morris does score. I don't know that they're going to go for many field goals. I think you're going to see them. What the heck? Rolling dice is taking chances.
They do have a good kicker, by the way.
They do have a good kicker, but I just don't think that's not going to win them the football game.
No.
So I think West Virginia does answer some questions. I anticipate the score. Because I almost went higher West Virginia. I wanted to be in the 50s. but I wasn't quite sure about that, especially when you start to get some substitutions in there.
It's fair.
So I'll go 42-14 West Virginia, and go back to what I said earlier. If Robert Morris scores 28 plus, it's just not a good look. So I'm hoping it's on the lower end and not say 42-14.
Yeah, I've got the same score for Robert Morris in 14, but I'm actually going 49-14. I think Rich Rod's offense, he loves that fast pace. I think he will do that in this game because I don't think that's not something he hides from. That's who he is. I think they go out and go fast. I don't think Robert Morris is going to be able to handle it. I think West Virginia's going to be able to dominate on the ground. I think Jaheim's going to have a 100-plus yard game pretty quick, and they're going to be able to yank him out. I think Dior Hubbard's going to come in, probably have a nice game. They'll yank him out. Long story short is I think West Virginia's going to play several guys. I think you'll see probably 3 quarterbacks, probably 3 to 4 running backs, probably a plethora of wide receivers. I just think they score pretty much at will early on, and then when they start getting the second string in, it'll slow down a little bit, and you'll see. I think it'll probably be 42 or 49-7 late, and I think Robert Morris gets a late touchdown on some of West Virginia's backups. But I think at the end of the day, West Virginia comes out of the game unscathed. As far as as far as not only losses but just fans going, man, this is going to be scary. But I think they come out 49-14.
Yeah,
winners,
lines up,
which I'd be okay with.
Yeah, lines up pretty much with what I was thinking. I think I almost put low 50s. Hey, you can't win them all if you don't win the first one. So we'll see.
It's pretty true.
We'll see where it goes. But
not to state the obvious or anything.
No. And not that I'm calling for West Virginia to go undefeated because we've talked about that. But listen, we both agree that 42-14, 49-14, whatever it would be, we expect West Virginia to be in control. Offensively, defensively, put up a lot of points pretty much as you stated at will. I think it's going to be more just kind of the just to sit back and watch how cool it is to see Rich Rod back at West Virginia. And then I think there's going to be a lot of people in those stands doing what we're doing right here, right? They're going to be eyeballing the quarterback battle. They're going to be eyeballing that offensive line. They're going to be eyeballing that secondary and those running backs. And God, heck, Couz, outside of a handful of players, we're all still learning them, right? I mean, and actually, if you want to know what really is going to happen, there's probably going to be a lot of people like this right here. All right, number 44. Who is number 44?
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, okay, who's this number 8 guy? Who's this? I mean, I think you're going to get a lot of that. Because you start seeing pictures of practice and stuff like that, videos, you're thinking, all right, now who is it? So it's tough. And so really excited, man. Really excited. It's here and it's time. And as you started off the show with, let's spot the ball, man.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I can't wait. I'm tired of talking about college football playoff expansion and all these other garbage, man. I'm ready to talk ball. But I do want to point out something we hadn't really touched on yet is even though Robert Morris has brought in a lot of transfers and they got a lot of new faces, just like West Virginia, they do have a lot of transfers who have FBS experience.
Mm-hmm.
For example, they have a linebacker who's played 680 snaps in his career, most of those being at Georgia Southern, but has also played snaps in the ACC at Wake Forest. They've got a receiver, Kai Holloway, who played a little bit at Maryland early in his career, so didn't get a lot of action, but he did play for Maryland. So they do have some talented players on the team. So I don't want, I don't want to come across as, Robert Morris has nobody, but I do want to make it clear that they do have, they did receive one first place vote in the Northeast Conference poll in the preseason, even though they have all these new players.
Yeah.
You mentioned that earlier, just to give everybody a feel for it. Which I don't know, maybe I shouldn't spoil it, but you'll have to read the article but basically they're replacing everybody. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But in the article, I go into a little bit more detail. Jonathan, we're going to be putting out our entire team's going to be doing our preview and prediction little write up we all do, and Jonathan will be publishing that later in the week. And I put it to kind of throw it in there, and it's also going to appear on the 365 Sports newsletter that's coming out on Wednesday. But anyway, there I kind of go a little bit more in detail as to how many guys they're replacing at certain positions. It's a ton.
Yeah. So, and another thing you got to think about too, Couz, in this world we live in college athletics, these guys are playing for Robert Morris, but they're playing for themselves too, because what are they trying to do? They're trying to get up to they're trying to get some NIL, right? I mean, those are opportunities. You know, every game you play is a tape you have to give to people. And, you know, you take some of these guys that are younger, they're, you know, it's an opportunity for them to put on film. This is what I could do against West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously they're playing for Robert Morris. I'm not trying to suggest they're not, but they're trying to earn a paycheck too by getting up and going to bigger schools. So you got to be really careful. We've kind of been lighthearted about this because there is a lot of questions, but and we've said as much in our score predictions. But it's you just can't roll out of bed and just think we're going to beat them by 35, right? So got to keep an eye on that.
Yep. All right, man. Well, it's been fun. Let's throw out one fun one real quick for everybody. I'm dropping this on you last minute, by the way.
Uh-oh.
Last time we talked about Little Debbie cakes. What is your I don't know if I want to go with favorite or first. What was the first concert, assuming you've been to a concert, what was the first musical concert you ever attended in your life?
The first one? It was a country concert. Trace Adkins.
Cool. I haven't seen him. I'd like to see him.
And I'll tell you a crazy story about that real quick. So I was at a convention center watching it. For those old school country people, you'll know he had a huge hit. Every Light in the House is on.
Love that song.
And as most concerts are, pitch dark, lights going, and towards the very end, the band quit playing. He hit that note, and every light came on in the whole auditorium. And to this day, I look back and I think that was probably one of the coolest parts of a concert, any concert I've ever been in, because it just kind of fit, you know. So, Tracy, I thought you was going to ask me what my last concert was.
Go ahead and talk about that.
Well, my last concert was, of all things, a Rascal Flatts concert in Charleston. In Charleston, yeah, it was like February. Yeah, February in Charleston. Yeah. So I think you're more of a concert goer than I am. I've
seen over 100 bands in my life.
Oh yeah, you're not even in the same
bands and or artists.
Oh yeah, I'm probably both hands. 10 max.
Yeah, it's just something we have, my wife and I both have a passion for it, man. We went to festivals where you see 50, 60 bands in a day. I mean, but I'm a rock guy, but I also like some country too.
Yeah.
I grew up on country because that's what my parents listened to. My very first concert was Alan Jackson at the West Virginia State Fair in probably 92-ish, somewhere in there. It's whenever Don't Rock the Jukebox hit song.
Oh, yeah.
He had a big inflatable jukebox on the stage going back and forth. I thought that was pretty cool as a kid. I was a kid, you know.
Yeah.
My most recent concert, was Chris Stapleton, actually, in Greensboro, North Carolina at the Coliseum.
There you go.
Very, very good show. In between, I've seen Stained, Disturbed, Breaking Benjamin.
Don't know any of those.
AC/DC.
I know them. I didn't know the first three you just said, but I do know them.
Yeah, we saw AC/DC back in the fall when we went to Las Vegas. So,
yeah, it's one thing I've never really been to much, concert. Yeah, if you've been to that many, you are a million times.
Yeah, it's
ahead of me.
It's very, very. It's to me, it's one of the most fun things. As long as it's somebody you like, obviously.
Yeah,
it's one of the most fun things you can do, man. It's just we love it. But anyway, I just thought that'd be something fun we could throw out there, let people know us a little bit better. But yeah, I'm a rock and metal guy typically, but I do like me some country here and there too. And A little bit of various genres, really, but mainly rock and
You
country.
know, my playlist, Couz, I feel like is about as weird as it gets. I might listen to a rap song. I might listen to a contemporary Christian song. I might listen to just some R&B stuff. I might listen to Reba McEntire. Who knows what I might listen to, man? You turn mine on, you're going to get a mix
But you
all
weren't,
across the board.
but you did, but apparently Stained is not on that list.
Never heard of them.
Where have you heard of Dan Lewis,
I
the
have.
country singer?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Kind of an
Okay.
older, I mean, like 10, 15 years ago?
No, he's been more recent than that.
No.
Anyway, he's the lead singer of Stained, but he does country stuff too.
No,
But
then
they
I've
don't
never
play it on the radio because he's controversial. So
no. I've never heard of Stained or the other ones
but
you mentioned.
I've seen Nelly in concert, I've seen DMX in concert, I've seen Jelly Roll, I've seen Metallica, AC/DC, Alan Jackson, Kenny Chesney.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, Morgan Wallen. It's
Okay.
now that's another show. That's the show now. His tickets they're like a gazillion
Yeah.
dollars a piece now. But I'd love to see him in concert again. But he puts on a good show. But anyway, that's enough of that. We appreciate you guys tuning into the show. Please be sure to check out our website, wvsportschat.com. Got to shout out the sponsor, which we forgot to do, Appalachia Digital. They're the ones who designed that website. Go check them out, appalachiadigital.com/Couz. Let them know I sent you. They can design you a brand new website if you need one. They can help you get found on Google if you already have a site. They can level up your current site if you have a small business. Whatever your needs are, they can help you out. appalachiadigital.com/Couz. Don't forget social media, WV Sports Chat on X/Twitter, WV Sports Chat on Facebook. That is growing like crazy. Come check us out. Check out all of our work. You can find us all these places. And we appreciate you tuning in. Hope the rest of your day is top shelf. Let's go Mountaineers, spot the ball, and Q Country Roads.